Huge thank you, Scott, for taking the time to sit down today. I mean, really, really huge. It's you know, I don't know if you knew this about me or not. I went to school for musical theater.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did. I went to school for musical theater. It's the reason I moved to New York was to go to school for musical theater.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Where?
And I went to AMDA.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah. And so the opportunity for me to sit down at this position now, 10 years after I moved to the city, had this happened, 9 years ago,
God, it would have been a whole different career opportunity.
Very different.
We wouldn't even be in Birch.
Exactly. It'd be a very different situation. So for me, this is just such an absolute joy. As a film and as a theater producer, you have a lot of late nights. That being the case, I'm guessing that coffee plays a kind of pivotal role for you in your morning routine.
The morning is doesn't begin unless there's coffee involved, and I'm a really early riser regardless of what time I go to bed. So.
Okay.
Usually the mornings are when I can get most of my real work done and the synapses are going, and so I start immediately. We have a fabulous Mocha Master Technovorm thing that we got at Williams-Sonoma, and we keep supplies of the Birch blend already ground in the house.
Yeah.
And so I start that pot, and the dogs get up, and my husband Brad gets up, and usually we, even before we take the dogs out, we try to make them hold their pee for a second and just wait a minute until the coffee's done. And then, so we get our first cup, and it's part of our morning routine as a family, and definitely, it's the morning beverage of choice.
Yeah.
About a year ago, Wynton Marsalis called me and he said, we own all of the Duke Ellington charts and arrangements, and really believe that a part of our responsibility at Jazz at Lincoln Center is to continue to foster and perpetuate this culture of Duke Ellington and jazz. And it was this unique opportunity to collide Broadway and jazz, which are two of America's great art forms, together, and do this show that celebrates the Cotton Club era of the Duke Ellington music of the 30s and 40s. I said, Wynton, I'll only do this if you will hand select the greatest jazz musicians in New York to play every night on stage. My career started at Radio City Music Hall, and I remember every time we would have the Christmas show, when the orchestra would come up on the elevator and then move across the stage, the audience at Radio City would give it an applause. And I said, can we do something like that with After Midnight and actually have the orchestra in a band car that can move forward and get really close to the audience a few times through the show. So we did that. The music hall had this amazing, 50-year history by the time I got there. Over time, though, all the Cineplexes and all the other kinds of movie theaters that opened suddenly made Radio City not quite as popular as being able to sell 6,000 seats. So it went through a slump in the late 70s, and a gentleman who worked for Disney by the name of Bob Yanni was brought in by the Rockefellers to, quote-unquote, save the music hall and turn it around. And he met me when I was a senior in college at University of Florida, and recruited me up to be the talent coordinator to audition Rockettes and singer-dancers and whatever, and I'd never lived in New York before. I was 22 years old, and as I started to watch the programming of the music hall, I realized that none of my friends were really going. But I said to Bob, I would like to take a run at programming shows that could be for New Yorkers. Mm-hmm. And he said, go with it. The music hall suddenly became something also for locals.
So I'm going to now move into rapid fire.
Okay.
All right. This is the very serious part of the show. This is 5 questions that we ask every person that comes in to interview with us. We ask them the same 5 questions. Do you like clowns?
I do like clowns.
Very interesting.
I know. It's probably psychologists have a whole point of view about, are you afraid of clowns,
right.
or do you? Yeah, I like clowns.
If you were casting Les Miserables, who would you cast me as?
Javert.
Awesome. I will take it.
So funny.
Scott, thank you.
What a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
How fun.
Such a
You could have a
privilege,
second
and
career if you didn't want to do this anymore.
This was a real honor for me personally, and I'm really grateful that you took the time.
No,
to
it's
come
my
and sit
pleasure.
with us. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good luck with it.